Welcome back to the Forge Tuesday Night League here in Chaska, Minnesota. Tonight we have a bunch of players out on the floor ready to play, and we have our first matchup already queued up here. We have Sophie versus Wyatt. Wyatt on the left is playing an old favorite, Arc Keys, and I'm not quite sure what Sophie's playing. Do you know?
Yeah, she is on Fusion Mew.
All right, so she's hoping that Klefki doesn't get started on Wyatt's side of the board, and it looks like it won't be, so that's good news for Sophie. But Fusion Mew does have a few outs. Even if that Klefki becomes active, they can put those Fusion Strike energies onto the Genesects, and their abilities will still work. So it will be an interesting matchup here. If Wyatt can't get that lock up against Sophie, I think this is probably a pretty unfavored matchup for the Arceus deck, but it'll be interesting to see how this matchup goes. We haven't seen this Arc Keys deck in a while.
Yeah, and looking at the prizes, nothing too crazy priced for either player. Couple VIPs for Sophie early, but shouldn't be a problem. Mew tends to get what it wants.
Yeah, and it looks like she's got that Forest Seal Stone in that opening hand to go find a Battle VIP pass if she needs to. And you really only need one to really get you in the game. You would like more than that, but you really only need one to kind of get things started. And Wyatt has the opening turn that every Arceus deck wants, which is Arceus Energy. And Sophie, I think she top decked that Mew, so definitely good to get more of those Pokemon in play. And because Wyatt wasn't able to find a Klefki, all these abilities are going to be online. And I think that means that Sophie's going to get off to a good enough start that it's going to be pretty tough potentially for Wyatt to get back into the game. And one of the things about this Arc Keys deck is it doesn't play any choice belts or anything like that. So if Sophia gets that Mew out of the active and Wyatt isn't able to pair his next turn with a boss's orders, he's not going to be able to take a knockout next turn either. But it looks like Sophie's using a Battle VIP pass here. Was that off the Force Seal Stone?
That was off the Force Seal Stone. Gonna place a couple more Genesects onto the bench here. And really just with Mew and Fusion Mew, DTE Mew, whatever kind of Mew, your first turn is very important. You want to just get as set up as possible, see as many cards as you can, and your turns will just get better from there. Also holding the Path to the Peak in hand for Sophie, which is a great card to have against Wyatt's Arceus deck. Arceus really doesn't want to get Path before their Starbirth goes off.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Sophie can find her own path out here as she starts drawing with these Fusion Strike systems off these Genesects, she can safely put that path into play, knowing that she's probably going to keep that Lost Vacuum or whatever sort of path out she finds in that hand for her next turn. And Wyatt on the other side, I think Arc Keys normally only plays Path to the Peak itself, and so there's probably not going to be a counter on Wyatt's side of the board, and Sophie does find that Lost Vacuum off that first Fusion Strike system.
Yeah, so I think deciding whether she wants to bench the Meloetta on this turn, I think probably makes sense to see some more cards off these Fusion Strike systems, be able to throw in a one prize attacker to do some work later on in this game.
Hand kind of clogged up at this point, but still a very good turn one energy. Choice Belt down onto that bench Mew V. And Wyatt's path now, he's got the switch. I was going to say he's got the Arceus that doesn't have the energy on it stuck in the active, but he got that switch card and an Iono to 6. So a dangerous Iono potentially here for Sophie because she had that Lost Vacuum in hand to bump that path, and depending on what she gets off the 6 card, she might be ability locked going into this next turn. But it looks like Wyatt might not have found the V-Star off of that Iono to 6. Usually we would have seen that Ultra Ball or that V-Star slam down already if he had found it, but it looks like he might not have. And a Nest Ball come down here, probably going to find an Aerodactyl. Oh, the Spiritomb. All right, so he does play the Spiritomb. That is going to be tough for Sophie. She does have one Fusion Energy in that hand, so she can attach that to a Genesect to have at least one ability ready to go. But definitely a very interesting tech there from Wyatt. Usually you don't see that when they're playing the keys already. But very good.
Yeah, very strong. And, risky play by Sophie, leaving that Mew in the active spot, opting not to retreat into a Meloetta or a Genesect there. If Wyatt had found the V-Star, he would have been taking the first 2 prizes of the game. But fortunate draws for Sophie, unfortunate draws for Wyatt here.
Yeah. You see this Trinity Charge here going to power up the benched Arceus V, and White didn't really spread those energies out. I guess in this situation you probably don't need to, but usually as an Arceus player myself, I usually probably would go 2-1 there and split it out between the two of them just so that, whatever happens, you have two that are ready to go, whether you find a DTE or another energy.
Oh, Sophie choosing to attach that Fusion Strike energy to the active Mew. So gonna bump path here, but won't be able to draw any cards.
Oh, she top decked the Lost Vacuum, but she didn't see the Spiritomb. So she's probably just gonna have to live off of this Judge here and hope she finds the VMAX off of it.
Yeah, unfortunate. Yeah, having the Fusion Strike energy in place, so would have been able to see at least a couple cards off of one Genesect, but gonna have to hope she finds the VMAX or an Ultra Ball off this Judge.
The nice thing that she did have a good setup to start, so she really just all she needs is the VMAX. She's got the Choice Belt already to get that extra damage to hit 220 on the Arceus V. So all she needs is an Ultra Ball, a Cramomatic that can flip heads, or the VMAX. And no VMAX prized, only one Ultra Ball prized, no Cramomatics prized. So she doesn't have terrible odds off of this Judge, but definitely would be nice to have that a little extra draw off of Genesect if she had chosen to attach that energy to one of her Genesect.
Yeah, a lot of outs in the deck. We'll see what she gets. Looks like she whiffed.
Escape Rope into maybe Meloetta wouldn't be a bad play here. Just give up that one prizer. I guess she doesn't need to Escape Rope.
You just retreat into it, probably.
Just retreat into it, probably, but...
Yeah, pretty unfortunate turn of events for Sophie. Think placing that Fusion Strike energy on the active Mew really ended up costing her this turn. Gonna play Crystal Cave, maybe just getting it out of her hand. Gonna retreat into that Meloetta and just try to give up one prize on Wyatt's next turn.
Now, Judge is a tough card for Arceus to see as well in this position. I still don't think Wyatt has the V-Star.
Does have access to Colress's Experiment, so could potentially see it here. But if he is playing the Colress, means he's not able to play Boss this turn and take a 2-prize turn.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately for Sophie, just giving Wyatt that little bit of extra time to set up, but it still looks like he's whiffed. He did get an Ultra Ball, so he will have the Arceus V-Star here. Going to probably send that Aerodactyl and an energy to the Lost Zone. And we're going to see probably an Ultra Ball for the V-Star, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see a Starbirth and then that Path to the Peak that's in his hand slam down.
Yeah, so overall, pretty strong turn for Wyatt. Able to just get rid of a VIP pass here off that Ultra Ball. Gonna have to decide on one more card.
Looks like the boss's orders is discarded off that Ultra Ball. And just due to that Spiritomb, this game turned around just like that. Sophie had a very strong start, but a great inclusion by Wyatt. Having that Spiritomb in this deck, even if you don't find those Klefkis to start the game, you do have the option of that Spiritomb on later turns, and definitely doing a lot of damage here to Sophie. And we are seeing the Starbirth from Wyatt. He's eyeing up another Arceus V-Star, eyeing up potentially a Judge, or another Arceus V. I think here you kind of just rely on the 3 Vs you already have in play. Maybe go for a V-Guard energy just to give one of them a little extra HP against these Mews.
And when you're building a deck in this format, a big question is, if you're teching for Mew, are you going to throw in that Spiritomb or are you going to throw in that Drapion? Tom, what's your take on which to put in which deck?
I mean, it really depends on the deck, right? I think something like the Lost Zone Giratina deck, where you can one-shot one Mew off of the V-Star power and then another off of Drapion. I think Drapion's better in that sort of deck. In some of these Arceus decks, if they're not playing like a Dark Attacker, like an Umbreon or something like that, I think Spiritomb's kind of the way to go, because Arceus is just chunky enough that it can take some hits from these Mews, and it can one-shot the Genesects and the Mew Vs pretty easily. So as long as you just disrupt them enough with the Spiritomb, you don't need to be taking KOs necessarily on the VMAXs. You're more targeting down their bench Pokemon.
Right, and we see Sophie top deck Genesect for turn. Can I try to hope that she can Iono into the VMAX here? Did play a Power Tablet, so we'll just need to find one more Power Tablet this turn in order to take a KO, if she's also able to find the VMAX.
She could draw into a Fusion Strike energy here as well to attach to a Genesect.
Path to the Peak is still in play, though.
Yeah, that's true. So we see the Lost City. See the Ultra Ball, we see Cram-O-Matic, so a lot of things that Sophie needs, and final card is
top
that
deck's
VMAX.
or last card VMAX. So gonna be able to evolve up if she's able to cram away the Ultra Ball and hit heads. She does have the knockout here. Could also. That's gonna be your only play.
Yeah, I think you have to do it.
See what she rolls here. Looks like it is heads.
The other question is, do
you sparkle? Or she
well,
already
can't sparkle,
Iono, so
yeah.
she's.
But do you go for that energy just to draw a couple more cards so that you know you have draw on board next turn?
It's tough. It seems she already expended one power tablet here. It seems like, to me, it makes sense to take the knockout here.
Yeah. You just have to start swinging, and hopefully you can find the sparkle on the next turn. Start powering up more of these Pokemon. If Wyatt doesn't look like Wyatt's probably going to be able to get a KO on the next turn unless he top decks the boss's orders. So this Mew is going to be safe, and then Sophie can start doing some. What is it? What's the Psychic Leap plays?
Some Psychic Leap plays for sure.
Those. The problem with that though is that this Arceus V-Star on the bench for Wyatt does have no DTE attached, which means it can knock out the Genesects. It is a lot nicer when it has the DTE attached and you can Psychic Leap into a Genesect and know that it's not going to get KO'd.
That's for sure.
Sophie did take, I believe, a power tablet off of those prizes. And so if she can find one more power tablet on the next turn and she's going to have to find a couple things on the next turn.
Yeah, going to need VMAX, going to need another damage modifier, maybe a switch. If she finds a switch card, that would do it.
Yeah. Just a couple things she'll need on the next turn, but Wyatt's deck is kind of about disruption. But I think he already played his supportive return as a Colress. Or no, he didn't.
Gonna play the Colress
play now. I was gonna say that's not a bad spot for Sophie to see a judge maybe find that sparkle.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Find other ways to draw cards, but
it's like gonna get rid of the Klefki here, and gonna attach a V Guard to the Arceus V-Star, which is pretty awkward for Sophie to have to get through.
200 damage coming down on this Mew. Does Sophie play the... Well, her bench is locked. I was going to say, if she plays the Oricorio, it could help with some Psychic Leap plays later. But she did draw Cram-O-Matic for turn, so that's going to be a strong card. She could cram away that Battle VIP pass, and if she can hit heads, she can Alessa Sparkle to two of those Genesects.
Yeah, already has the Lost City in hand, so would be able to draw some more cards, which seems like a pretty strong play here. It's like she will be using the Cram-O-Matic here. It is going to be Tails, so that's kind of a tough turn here. Doesn't really have access to much here. Can't attack with Mew again, so gonna have to retreat into something probably maybe a Genesect.
Yeah.
But again, like you were saying, the Genesect will go down with the next attack from this Arceus V-Star, as it does not have a double turbo on it.
And the Spiritomb putting in a lot of work for Wyatt in this game. And I think it might come down sort of to that Fusion Strike energy attachment onto that Mew instead of onto a Genesect. Otherwise, Sophie would have at least a little bit of draw, maybe be able to find that Sparkle and those other damage modifiers and Pokemon that she needs to find. But unfortunately, the nice thing for Sophie is she's not out of the game yet. Wyatt only has taken one prize on that Meloetta. There's some damage on that Mew, but that can be Psychic Leaped off. And so Wyatt's going to take 3 prizes here. I assume Sophie probably plays maybe like a Roxanne, some Mew's play, and can disrupt Wyatt's hand. But Wyatt definitely in a commanding position, especially with that V-Guard energy on that Arceus. It means we're probably going to have to see like a Meloetta attack rather than just the normal Technoblast off these Genesects.
But we already seen that Meloetta go down.
I don't know if she plays. I don't think she plays.
She just plays the one.
So definitely in a tough spot.
Yeah, and the way that Wyatt has his board set up, if Sophie wants to win this game, she will have to knock out both of these Arceus V-Stars. There's not enough other prizes on the board to maybe go some other route. So yeah, kind of a tough spot for Sophie here. But
we do see this judge that could get her out of this difficult position. That judge going to give Sophie a fresh hand of 4 cards, and we know that her hand was just pretty much completely dead that last turn. So maybe this will breathe a little bit of extra life back into the game for her, and it is those Alessa Sparkles.
And the Lost Vacuum could not have been better judged.
Could not have asked for more. Going to be able to at least draw some cards this turn. That Alessa Sparkle can come down onto 2 Genesects, and once they have that Fusion Strike energy on them, they're not impacted by that Spiritomb's ability anymore, and they will be able to draw some cards. So I think we're probably going to see this Lost Vacuum away that Force Seal Stone, get rid of that path, and then these Alessa Sparkles
Sparkle
can
come
down.
out. Has DTE in hand as well, so could throw that onto the Mew V. Gonna target 2 Genesects, makes sense. See as many cards as she can this turn. Has access to all the Fusion Strike energies as she didn't prize any. 2 Fusion Strike energies coming out, going on the Genesects, and we'll start drawing some cards.
Yeah, I think if she does play the Oricorio here, what I'd love to see on this turn is a retreat into that Mew VMAX and the Psychic Leap on this Arceus, because she's probably going to have to 2-shot this, given that it has the V-Guard energy on it. So if she can get that Oricorio out and have it be something that where she can retreat into or Psychic Leap and then put up a Genesect that can't be KO'd, because of that Oricorio's ability, that'll be a very strong turn for her and quite a big swing in this game. Draws into a lot of supporters though off of that Fusion Strike system, and that's going to be
thinking about playing the Mew
tough.
here. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like, not going to be able to get access to that Oricorio play now, but wasn't going to see too many cards otherwise.
So maybe she can still find another VMAX and Psychic Leap retreat into the VMAX, so that there's just like another thing that Wyatt can't take prizes on.
Makes sense.
And there
Does
is
hit the VMAX.
and a Lost City. Lost City not doing too much unless she can pair it with a boss on that Spiritomb, but really doesn't need to do that now. She just needs to go after these 2 Arceuses.
Yeah, so we'll see which attacker she chooses to go into here. She is going to opt to go for the undamaged Mew. Seems tough. Wyatt just needs to
has the
find a boss
He's
here.
already got it in hand, so a tough decision, but I can see merit in both plays, right?
For sure. Since she was unable to find the Oricorio, the lead play was a little less strong than it could have been.
So you're going to see this Technoblast come down, but then Wyatt should just have the boss for game there. So Spiritomb putting in a lot of work, and the question that every player asks when they come to a tournament is, do I play Spiritomb? Do I play Drapion? Is Mew going to show up? Who knows? And Wyatt deciding to bet on some Mew showing up and hits it round 1, so probably feeling pretty good about including that Spiritomb. But that's just a tough matchup for Mew. If they don't start the Klefki, they have the Spiritomb, and if they don't have either, they have Path still. Just a crazy amount of ways to shut off Mew's abilities, and that deck just really relies on those Genesects, and if you can't dig deep enough into your deck in that early game, you're just going to run into a lot of trouble. So,
Yeah, well played by Wyatt. Good choice to include the Spiritomb this time at this weekly event. And we'll be back soon with our winners interview.
absolutely. Welcome back to League Night here at the Forge. We are here with our winners interview with Wyatt. Congratulations, Wyatt, on winning round one. Tell us about your deck. Arc Keys is not a deck we've seen in a while.
Yeah, Arc Keys is kind of, I just wanted to play it. I thought about it yesterday, and I was like, it's pretty good matchups since Lost Box and Maridon did really well in Pittsburgh, so that's what I wanted to play.
Absolutely. That Clef Key can shut off those Maridon abilities, which means they're not getting into the game at all, and same for Lost Box shutting off those Comfies. But there's a third matchup where that Clef Key is really good, and that's against the Mew.
It is.
But we didn't see those keys come down at all. You didn't need them.
I didn't need them. Luckily, I had a last-minute thought about like a couple hours before that it's not that good into Lugia, and there was going to be a lot, so I wanted to push that over the edge with the Spiritomb.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, turned out to be a great inclusion for you here. Tell us about the other matchups you're hoping to hit. You said Maridon, Lost Box. Any others that you think are really good with the keys?
Arcdex is pretty good because you can hit for weakness with the Aerodactyl. And then, yeah, I'm just hoping to hit Maridon, Lost Box.
There you go. Well, congratulations on your round one win, and hopefully we'll see you at the end of the night.
I hope too. That'll be fun.
We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Welcome back. We're here with Sophie, one of our players from Game 1. Sophie recently came back from the Pittsburgh Regional. Sophie, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us about the deck that you brought to the Pittsburgh Regional and how you did?
Yeah, I brought a Mew deck to the Pittsburgh Regional, and I did all right. I started off kind of rough. My first game was against a Lost Tina deck, and then I lost that one, and then I ended up tying my next two games against mirror matches. And from there, it just kind of was very mid. And then I ended up going kind of to the barracks. I still had a chance, and then I lost a game to a Lost Box Drapion play, really good. And then I ended up winning my next three games, which ended up in my result of 5-2-2 for Pittsburgh. So it felt pretty good. I couldn't decide on a deck until like a week before, so I just ended up going with my good old Mew deck.
So you finished in the top 512, so that was championship points. You got 20 points for the weekend. So overall, pretty successful, we'd say, right? Yeah.
I met my goal. My goal going into it was to do better than my last regional, so I did that.
So do you have any advice for anyone who is watching at home and maybe wants to go to their first regional?
I think you gotta just have fun with it. I think there's a lot of pressure put into winning, and it gets a lot to get over that. But once you do, and you just focus on having fun and playing well and playing clean, that's all you can hope for. And then you feel good about your games and going to these regionals.
All right. Yeah, Sophie, thank you so much for joining us and telling us about your experience at Pittsburgh Regional, and good luck in the rest of the rounds here today.
Thanks, Max.
Welcome back to Tuesday night at the Forge here in Chaska, Minnesota. We're back with a matchup between Peyton and David, both players who attended Pittsburgh Regional this last weekend, and we got some spicy decks coming your way.
I think they both did day 2, didn't they?
They did both day 2.
Yeah.
I think Peyton was day 2'd on Turbo Lost Box, and David is our resident Rapid Strike fiend. And they both day 2'd. I think it was David's first day 2 and Peyton's second day 2, so we're all really proud of them.
Cool.
There.
Yeah, super cool. But switching up the decks tonight, so Peyton on the left side here on Charizard Kirlia, which is kind of a new deck coming out of that recent Japanese tournament. I believe it got top 8 at a very large Japanese event. So players over here in the States are starting to try it out. And David on the other side on apparently a pretty spicy colorless Lugia deck. Maybe he got sick of losing the Lugias on Rapid Box and decided to join them.
Yeah, he let me take a peek through his deck before he went into the game here. But as you can see in the prizes, he's playing the Magical Echo Altaria.
Okay.
And he's playing a Blissey V.
Pretty cool. So we're going to see the fist bump here, and a glaring Lugia V is shown on Davin's side of the board. So, and a Charmander start for Peyton, and an Ultra Ball for Davin, getting that first Archeops into the discard pile, which is pretty good, and just trying to decide what else to get rid of. I think probably you're pretty okay getting rid of that Stadium, given that you're going up against Zard. They don't normally play Path to the Peak or anything like that. Gets that other Archeops, has the Professor's Research ready to go in hand, and some energy as well, and a Snorlax. So just a pretty good start for Davin here on this Lugia deck. I imagine we'll just see that attachment for turn, maybe even just onto the Snorlax, because why not start the game attacking with the Snorlax? But going to pass it over to Davin. Davin's got a Jet Energy of his own. Ralts probably looking to find a Mew, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a Jet Energy into that Mew off of this level ball. And then it's going to have an Iono to dig a little deeper, start finding those VIP passes.
Yeah, the Jets are definitely a cool include in this list. Jet Energy most notably sees play in Lasson Giratina, but also sees playing in some Lugia decks, some other Lost Box decks might choose to throw them in there. That's a pretty powerful card.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this deck, it's really just like your only way to switch out of things. Like if someone tries to boss stall a Kirlia, you can jet out of that, and then it's mainly used for just going into this Mew every turn and using that Mysterious Tail ability, and that's what we're going to see Peyton do right here. Use that Jet Energy, go into Mew, and Mysterious Tail for, hopefully, on his end of Battle VIP Pass. Now, I think I would have liked to see Peyton use that Iono first before going into this Mysterious Tail. I think you just dig a little bit deeper into the deck, more likely to hit those cards that you want to see. But finds a level ball, going to be able to use it here, probably going to go find another Charmander and just start getting this board set up.
All right, we will see the Charmander come down, and this deck definitely is a little worse than the list that won the Champions League, as they have access to the 70 HP Charmanders.
Yeah.
Shouldn't matter too much in this matchup, but that's just one thing of note, is that the 60 HP Charmanders are maybe something that might hold this deck back as of now.
Yeah, we get Pokemon 151 in about 3 weeks here, and then we'll have that 70 HP Charmander, which will definitely help out a lot. And finding that Artisan off of that Iono, that's definitely going to help Peyton here. Definitely would like to see this bench full, and he's got another Mew Jet Energy if he wants to do another Mysterious Tail. He's got the Jet Energy that he could retreat out of this Mew into that second Mew, but at this point I think you probably want to save that bench space for something else, although Lugia is probably going to take the knockout on this Mew, so it would be freed up again right away, but I probably just going to leave that bench spot open. I don't know.
All right, we'll see the pass over back to David.
David has this Capturing Aroma. We'll see what he gets off the heads. Does find the evolution, definitely. And he's got Lumineon to find a Burnett, so he doesn't necessarily have to dig too deep to find like an Archeops to discard. As long as that Burnett is in there, I'll probably want to check before you use that Lumineon. But Davin probably pretty confident here. Going to Lumineon here and find that Burnett. I would assume get rid of that final Archeops that you need to get into the discard pile.
I think I saw Thornton hiding in there.
I think I did too. Couple Cheryls as well.
Couple Cheryls.
Pretty spicy. So Burnett gonna come out, discard
setting up the.
Is he gonna go just for one Archeops here? There's no way.
No,
I
he
guess
already
he's
just
setting up the
started one.
Thornton play
Yeah, he's just setting up
on the
the Thornton play for
Luminion. Yep,
later.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So we're gonna see this star. What's it called?
Summoning Star.
Summoning Star brings out those Archeops. I haven't played Lugia enough to remember its V-Star power. I just know whenever my opponent does it, I'm probably losing.
The Blissey V coming down.
Yeah,
It's a spicy include for sure.
absolutely. And if he can get enough energy on that Blissey, it's going to be a great way to start one-shotting these Charizards as they come down. The other way some of these colorless Lugia decks choose to do that is to utilize the Weird Ear. But I think we're going to see an attachment for turn of this double turbo energy onto the Lugia most likely. Unless he decides to power up that Lugia the rest of the way with Archeops and just attach to this bench Snorlax.
Could also choose like the Snorlax here. Just
Personally, I like it. I like it just going on the Lugia because it doesn't mess up any math. Because there's nothing that you're trying to one shot for 220 on this Lugia, and you are able to then hit for the full 180 on the Snorlax, which probably doesn't come up either. But maybe there's some two-shotting things that can happen between a Snorlax and another Pokemon in this deck to take out those Zards. Like a Snorlax with a DTE can't two-shot a 330 HP Charizard, so you probably don't want to see those DTEs on there. But choosing to retreat into this Snorlax to take this first KO, which is kind of interesting because Zard doesn't one-shot Lugia at first, but it is going to take a one-shot on the Snorlax. So I think you probably want to just like attack that Lugia,
let it eat a hit.
Let it eat a hit, and then maybe he can pull off that Thornton play. He did prize the Altaria, but there's a lot of things you can do with that damage later if it stays on the board.
We see that Jet Energy into the Mew coming into play once again, finding the candy.
And has Ultra Ball ready to go. So probably Ultra Ball away. Ultra Ball and Charmander are going to find the Charizard EX Rare Candy, and then that Infernal Rain ability, is that what it's called? Going to be able to search for 3 fire energy and put them anywhere on the board.
Yeah, already showing what this deck can do. I think the Mew Kirlia engine is pretty powerful. Definitely lets Guardy do so many crazy things,
Yeah.
so it makes sense that other decks might want to try to utilize it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this deck, now that you see it, it's just obviously good, but no one really thought of it before it kind of came out in Japan as people playing it with those Kirlias. Definitely a little weaker to Lost Box things than some other versions of Zard, but just seems to be a lot more consistent than the Bibarel version and not as much of a liability as the Pidgeot version, which is very weak to Path and gives up 2 prizes when it's knocked out.
All right, we'll see the Iono coming out. Peyton empty hand, so we'll just draw 6 fresh cards.
Finds that Kirlia, going to be able to refinement away that Battle VIP pass, and probably hoping to find another Charizard here, given that he's got that rare candy in hand already, but no dice on that, but that's fine. He's already got a Charizard ready to go, and he's going to be able to take the KO on the Snorlax, but that Snorlax does have a gift energy on it, so it's going to allow Daven to draw a few more cards as well.
This deck, I believe, playing 2 copies of the Buddy Catch Gallade, a card that I am a big fan of personally. Being able to search your deck once per turn for a supporter and put it into your hand opens up the way for a lot of boss for game situations, which is a lot of times that's what the Pidgeot was doing for you, is like finding you a supporter.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I think that's what you were finding off of it.
Yeah.
So kind of providing the same thing, but not getting locked out by Path. Pretty cool include.
Yeah, and Peyton utilizing the Super Rod to shuffle back the Charmander that he discarded earlier, and then using the Artisan Stadium to go right back, find it, and put it onto his bench. So he's going to have a lot of attackers here going soon, and the question then on Daven's side of the board is, do you attack into this Charizard, or do you wait till later till you can hopefully one-shot it, and do you start trying to pick off maybe the Kirlias to get rid of Peyton's consistency, or do you go after the Charmanders before they evolve? But you also have to remember, each time you're taking a KO just means you're making these Charizard's attacks even more powerful.
And we see the Blissey V coming up, and right now, not going to be able to be knocked out by the Charizard. So might just try to start attacking and getting some energies onto it.
I
Not
believe
gonna
he
have
plays the Dunsparce as well. Is that what we're seeing with this Dunsparce potentially coming down?
Yeah, could be. It could also just
was-
be a way. These locals are often flooded with Miraidon, so
Yeah.
maybe was preparing for
I
that.
saw another Dunsparce looking card in the deck that had a gray border, so I'm wondering if the Dunsparce is in here, which I believe that does paralysis, right?
I believe it does 100 damage and paralysis,
Yeah.
and it shuffles itself back
Which
into the deck.
could be pretty strong against this Zard if Daven can pair it with something like an Iono. And if Peyton has gone through a lot of his jet energies, there's no way for him to get out of that paralysis. But we see a research coming down here from Daven,
Oh, there it is.
the Dunsparce. For 4 energy, I believe it does, like you said, 100 damage of paralysis and shuffles itself back into the deck.
And all cards attached, so
Yeah.
preserving those energies, which is very important in Lugia.
Absolutely. We do see that Weirdeer in Daven's deck, so a lot of different things in this Lugia deck for Daven. Going to be able to utilize that Collapse Stadium, get rid of that Luminion, which is definitely a big liability on the board. An easy card for Charizard to one-shot for 2 prizes, and with that Buddy Catch Glade, like you said, boss is always available to Peyton.
Peyton having to get rid of the Mew. It's kind of done its job, letting him get set up.
Seeing a lot of energies come down onto, I believe, this Blissey, and that's going to be 8 energies. So is that, how much damage is that doing? Is it 40 times?
It is
times?
30 times. It's 10 plus 30. So if there's 8 energies, it's going to do 250, but then minus 60 from the double turbos.
So 190, which seems a little lackluster with all that energy on there. But he's going to be able to utilize that attack to power it up even further. I forgot about the second part of Blissey's attack, which is attach 3 energy from your discard pile to it. And this is a big Blissey that Peyton has no way to one-shot.
Yeah, and you know, it's unfortunate that
You see the boss's orders come down onto this Lugia.
makes sense. He's not. Although it is kind of scary to leave that Blissey unchecked.
Yeah, it is, but I think Peyton's thinking Daven's going to take a KO next turn anyway, and as soon as he does, he's able to
One-shotting
one-shot that Blissey. Two-shotting a Blissey feels kind of bad.
That's
Two-shotting
for
a
sure.
Lugia feels less bad than two-shotting a Blissey. But we see this Ultra Ball coming down. Peyton does have that rare candy in hand, so he will be able to get another Charizard EX out on this turn. And then the question really just is, what is the route for Peyton here? He's discarding that jet energy after you see that Dunsparce. Kind of dangerous because I think that means he's only got 1 left in deck.
Yeah, I believe
potentially.
we've seen 2 come out already, so that's the 3rd one. Yeah, and that might be the route that Daven looks to take, as the Altaria is prized, so won't be able to get a magical Echo play off.
So it does just look like there is just 1 jet energy left in that deck for Peyton. So we're going to see...
Buddy Catch Gallade coming down.
I already used a supporter for turn, so whatever he grabs here is just going to be what he wants to see next turn. As that Palpad in deck, this deck only plays 2 boss's orders. So unless he can find Palpad, there's no more boss's orders for Peyton until he digs that one out of those prize cards there.
Yeah, and I think I like the play of grabbing it this turn. Makes the chances of drawing into something else nice, and even if his hand gets disrupted, always has the Buddy Catch to just find it again.
And I believe this Charizard is going to be doing 210 damage to this active Lugia on Daven's side of the board. The other interesting thing about this Charizard deck is it does play that 1 reversal energy. So this Gallade can attack, and the Gallade's attack is pretty good. Does 160 damage, can knock out Archeops, can finish off a Lugia, can do a lot of things for Peyton as long as he's able to dig it out of that deck with a couple more refinements and drawing off of Ionos and that sort of thing. But Daven's going to have probably a pretty strong turn on his end as well. It has the jet energy in hand, or is that in his deck? Basically,
That is his deck. He's just got the last energy in his deck is just the 1 jet here.
So he's Ultra Ball for that Snorlax. Then the question is, he can retreat out of this Lugia. But if you take this KO, that just means your Blissey's getting return KO'd by that Charizard, and there's no energy left to attack with anything else.
Yeah, and I didn't see Daven's hand, but how much is that Blissey doing now? It's doing quite a bit, I think. It's doing 1, 2.
he's got 4 DTEs attached to it, I believe.
Yeah.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4 other energies. So he's got a total of 12 energy. So 360, 370 minus 80 is doing 290. So still not
Still
even
can't even
one-shotting a
one-shot the
Charizard.
bench Zard, so the boss
Yeah.
won't help him here. But if he does have the boss in hand, could elect to just swing and not take any knockouts.
Yeah. Tough position here for Daven because I think he's just running out of energy and all of it's on that Blissey, which as soon as he takes a knockout is going to be one shot by Charizard. What? Yeah.
Right, is gonna retreat into that Blissey, and do we see the boss's orders coming out?
I want to say I saw it in hand.
He does have it in
Yeah.
hand, so could elect to swing into that bench Charizard. And I think that makes sense.
Other things. Does Daven think V-Guard's protecting him from a knockout here? Because that Blissey only has 230 HP, right?
It has
Does it have
250. It has 250.
Oh, if it has 250. Okay, so then this Blissey is still safe even with that knockout on the Gallade. And now is powered enough with those
To
jet
one-shot
energies
a
from the
Charizard.
discard to one-shot a Charizard.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so Daven doing the math perfectly, even if I'm not. And he is going to have a massive knockout on that Charizard next turn. And that's one of the things I think in these Charizard decks, I think I'd still love to see a Choice Belt because you just get put in these awkward positions where you can't get quite there against these Vs and V stars, even if they have taken a couple prizes.
Yeah, what do you think of the new Charizard EX that we'll be seeing coming out in 151? Do you think that's maybe another option that these lists could choose to play?
I think it is, but I think you have to probably play Magma Basin or the Pokemon Go Charizard as well, because having to discard 3 energies to utilize that attack just really hurts, and it means that you're probably max only ever going to get 3 Charizards in play in a game, so that means you're using a full one of those Infernal Rain abilities just to power up that one Charizard and gonna discard them away right away. And that Fire has a tough weakness. You really like that. There's not a lot of great grass attackers in the meta right now, so this Dark type Charizard puts in a lot of work and it's very tanky, but there's a lot of good water types in the current meta that can easily one-shot that Fire Zard.
All right, and we'll see the Charizard attack coming through, doing 240 damage, so 10 shy of knocking out that Blissey.
And the Weirder coming down as well, meaning that Daven can deny another knockout by retreating out of this Blissey or using Jet Energy even, I think, that he has in hand to bring that Weirder into the active, move all the energy to it, and I guess he attached the Jet Energy already. Maybe he didn't have.
Oh, but did
draw into it?
draw into it off of Professor's research.
So he can move as many energy as he wants to the Weirder, and it has a little bit higher multiplier than the Blissey. But the question is, can he do enough to OHKO this Zard with the Weirder while leaving enough energy on the Blissey to then take the final knockout on the damaged Zard on the bench? That's, I think, the question that we have to ask here is the math going to fully work out for Daven? Because he's not going to have a lot of time left if he can't get the one shot here, because he just doesn't have a lot of energy left in that deck.
I think it would need to have 9 energies on the Weirder, like 9 non-double turbo energies on the Weirder to take the knockout, and that's pretty hefty.
If he puts...
Just doing the Blissey math.
Yeah. That Blissey now has 11 energy on it, so it's doing 340?
It actually has 14 energy.
14 energy on it, yeah. So it's doing 420 minus 80. It's doing 430 minus 80. So it is getting there, but choosing to jet.
You think
out.
he hard retreated?
I know he used the jet on the Weirder.
Oh, I see.
And that Weirder now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 energy on it, meaning it's doing 400 minus 20 because of that DTE. So it will take the knockout, and that Blissey is left with 6 energy on it, meaning that Blissey will do 190 minus 60, so 130 damage, and that is 10 damage shy of knocking out this damage Zard EX. Daven is going to have one more energy left, and I think he was counting on that energy potentially in the prize.
And I think he did grab it off the prize. I think he had already, his first prizes were the V-Guard, so that last energy was still prized.
So the question is, I wonder what Daven's going to be able to do here. Obviously way ahead in the prize trade, but the question is he just out of gas because this Zard is going to take that one shot on the Weirdeer.
Does have access. He did. Oh yeah, he grabbed the Magical Echo Altaria, but he has nothing that he can.
I think it's just an
into
energy
it.
game here
Yeah.
now. I don't know how much energy that he could possibly have left. All the DTEs are in play. All of the Jets are in play. A V-Guard is prized, and I assume he only plays 2 of the gift, maybe 3, but even then, that's just one more energy. It's just not enough.
Yeah, and unfortunately, too much damage on that Blissey V to be able to Thornton into it.
I think Peyton's trying to decide if he wants to boss something here, but I don't think you can leave this Weirdeer in the active with all that energy on it. It just loses you the game. You have to do it. But it looks like he's got an Iono. Iono's not going to do much either because of that gift energy attached to the Weirdeer. So Peyton probably just trying to count those energies. But I think the only play you have is to Iono attack this Weirdeer and hope that Daven doesn't have it. Unless Peyton can find another Zard to Rare Candy Zard, retreat out of the damage Zard. That would also be another great play. So maybe he would want to research in that scenario and try to go for that undamaged Charizard. But I actually don't know if Peyton has enough energy left in deck that the Zard would even be able to power itself up. Does find the Super Rod there. Finds the Curlier to evolve that Ralt, so he's going to be able to dig a little bit deeper. But needs a lot off of just one refinement.
All right, and thinking about the play here. Not sure if he has any other Pokemon in his deck. Does have the Level Ball that can maybe thin out one extra card.
Choosing to just evolve into that Charmeleon. And
Considering the Super Rod,
I'd love to see Daven's hand right now, but kind of hiding it from us. But it would be nice to see what he got off that Iono to 2. But he's going to be able to draw 5 if Peyton does choose to take this knockout. But it looks like Peyton's just retreating and saying, I don't need to take a knockout here. But Daven just top decked the boss. And he just looked at it for a while. Doesn't want to slam it down. Trying to decide whether or not to extend the game, maybe. Just slow plays Peyton and takes this final KO with the Weirdeer. Now the thing is, I think if Peyton just took the KO, I don't think Daven had enough energy.
but he didn't know that. He's still, the last energy that David needed was in the prizes, but Peyton having no way to know that.
Yeah. And it was just 1 energy short on that Blissey, so no way to know. But I think ultimately you just have to take that knockout and pray that they don't have that final energy, because it's just so easy. I mean, they're so far ahead that you can't leave that Weirdeer with all the energy on it in the active.
All right, question for you. Bigger math deck, Blissey V or Gardevoir?
Oh, Blissey V easy for sure. Way harder.
When we had Powerful in the format too. And
Powerful Colorless plus DTE, and you're trying to do all the math on that. At least with Guardy, it's just multiples of 30.
Yeah.
With Blissey, it's like multiples of 30 minus all these other things.
Don't forget to add the 10 damage and 10 base damage.
Yeah. So, well, 2 very cool decks there. I think we saw the Charizard get off to a little bit slower start than it wants to in that Lugia matchup, but the Blissey doing massive damage and not being able to be return KO'd was very painful for Peyton. And then that Weirdeer being able to come in, take all that energy off of that damaged Blissey and take a big one shot, just really put Daven in a very strong position. And Peyton had no idea, but I think he just wins that game if he knocks out that Weirdeer, because Daven just doesn't have anything to do aside from maybe boss stall something.
Yeah.
But very well played by both players. Two very cool decks to see. Would have loved to see maybe that Altaria come down, or the Dunsparce. But very cool decks to watch, and we'll be back here soon with our winners interview. All right, we are back here with our winners interview with David. David, congratulations on winning.
Thank you.
So pretty unique colorless Lugia deck.
Thank you.
Tell us about it.
So I was looking at the new cards that were coming out, and I saw the new Mew EX that was
Yeah.
coming out, and so I was like, that's going to be really good in Lugia. And so I was like, I've never really played Lugia. I want to test out some Lugia. And so I was looking at colorless cards, and I saw my Altaria that I used to play in Shadow Rider, and I was
Yeah.
like, I want to play that again. And so I put that in. That kind of inspired me to play a colorless Lugia again.
Nice.
And so I was looking at some other colorless cards. I kind of just threw in some of my favorites, and that's what I'm playing tonight.
Well, it worked out pretty cool. It's cool to see that Blissey, and especially against this Charizard deck. Until you've taken what, like 3 prizes, Charizard can't OHKO that Blissey, which
The
is
math,
pretty crazy.
it worked really well for me against
Yeah.
Charizard. After
Yeah.
I pulled the Blissey out, I was like, oh wow,
Yeah.
this is like great.
And then pairing that with the Weirder, you power up that Blissey with its own attack, just jet out of it into the Weirder to
Yup.
do like 400 damage is pretty crazy.
It was awesome, yeah.
Now, one thing that Max and I noticed that I have to ask you about, I think if Peyton just KOs that Weirder on that last turn, I think he just wins because I think you were out of energy. But tell me if I'm wrong.
I was out of energy in my deck, and then he Iono'd me, and I got a V-Guard, and I was so confused on how I got that V-Guard. Was it
Yeah.
for my prizes, probably?
Maybe you had 2 V-Guard in play,
Yes.
and a third in the prizes. I think you had prized 2 V-Guards.
I think I am
So
only playing
you-
3 V-Guards.
You only playing 3
I'm only playing
V-Guards?
3 V-Guards.
So something must have gotten screwed up there because you definitely had 2 V-Guards in play. And if Peyton KO'd the Weirder, I think your last energy was the V-Guard in your prizes, technically. And then the Blissey had 3 DTEs on it. So the Blissey was doing 190 minus 60, so it was doing 130. And his Charizard had 190 on it, so you would have been 10 damage short.
Wait, no, the Blissey had 3 DTEs plus 10 damage. I think I calculated that does 190. Because I asked him, I was like, hey, I'm doing 190 with this Blissey, does that knock you out?
Minus 60 though, for 130. 'cause
No, it
had
was
3
more
D.
than 190.
So it was 6 energies.
Yes.
So 10 plus 6 times 3 is 19, 190. Minus 60 is 130.
Oh,
And so you would have been 10 damage short on the Charizard EX, I think.
you're right. I
So
would've
if he just KO'd the Weirder, I think he just would have won because only
True. I did
because
have-
you prized the V-Guard.
I did have a Jet Energy
Yeah.
in my hand, I think, didn't I?
You used that on the Weirder.
I did, I used it on the Weirder.
Yeah, so you literally had 1 energy left and it was in your prizes. And Peyton, probably thinking that he can't just count on it being prized, couldn't just take the KO because then you could have just Archeops 1 energy to the Blissey and it would have been enough.
Right, yeah.
But it technically wasn't because it was prized.
Wow.
So, crazy game. Super cool deck. I love seeing the Dunsparce. If you had
Thank
had
you.
enough energy to pull that off, because he was also down almost all of his jet energies. So,
Yes.
if you had pulled off the paralysis and just 2-shot a Zard, that would have been pretty sick.
That
too,
was
but-
also, that was a backup plan of mine. I really wanted to attack with Dunsparce on stream. That would have been fun.
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll get a chance. You'll be in the finals here, going in at
Yes.
2-0. Very cool deck.
Sweet.
Now, the other thing is you were at Pittsburgh this weekend,
I
right?
was,
And you got
yes.
your first regional day 2.
I did.
With the worst deck in form. No, I'm just kidding. With your favorite deck, probably.
It
One of
is
your
right
favorite
now,
decks.
yeah.
Rapid Box. Tell us about your run at Pittsburgh.
I beat all of my counters and I lost to a bunch of Miraidons. So it's weird. Everyone was
Yeah.
telling me you shouldn't have played this because of all the Lugias. I beat all 3 Lugias that I ran into.
Yeah.
And I lost to like 3 out of the 4 Miraidons I ran into. And I was like, I thought this would be an easy matchup
yeah.
with Miraid or with my Urshis, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really weird how I was able to somehow beat my counters
Yeah.
but lose to my.
Wow.
The
Well,
other ones.
that's pretty cool. What was your final placement then in Pittsburgh?
I got 157th or something.
Okay.
like
Okay.
that.
So top 256.
Top 256,
Pretty
yeah.
cool. Very good for the biggest regional
Right.
of all time, and making your first day 2. Awesome.
My own personal best.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on your win tonight, and congrats on your Pittsburgh run. And hopefully, we'll talk to you soon after the finals.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks, David.
Hello, I am here with Peyton, who recently attended the Pittsburgh Regionals this last weekend. Peyton, what deck did you play?
I played Lost Box Turbo, which I've been on for quite a while now. I just decided it feels good right now. Having Lost seem to be the best deck in format, it plays a really good matchup into that, so I was hoping to hit a lot of that. And I did hit a decent amount, but yeah, it was a good deck.
Yeah, awesome. And so word on the street is that you made day 2.
Yes. Yeah, I got day 2, and I ended up 83rd overall.
Congratulations, top 128. That's pretty impressive. And so in your last 2 regionals, you were 2 for 2 on day 2.
Yeah, yep.
So you want to tell us, when did you start playing the Pokemon trading card game?
I started in January this year. So I just started. It's my first card game I've ever played. David actually got me into it, and I started with Mew. I got like the Mew League Battle deck, and then I pulled that Play Stamp Charizard VMAX, and I traded that for Lugia, full Lugia build, and then I got into Lost Box. So that's how my progression was.
And that's when you really kind of took off. You've seen a lot of improvement over these last couple months. So
Yeah.
congratulations to you
Thank
for
you.
making those day 2s. It's really tough. That was the biggest regional of all time. So being able to go 6-2-1 in that first day, that's super impressive. Do you think that you'll continue playing Lost Box in the 151 format?
You see, I know there's a lot of good cards that come out that kind of mess with Lost Box. I know Lost Box can go quick, but I do think there might be some changes. I might switch it up for Peoria. I mean, I'm going to Peoria. That's a month away when 151 drops right away, so I'm going to get some practice in. See how Lost Box feels into that. But it never, like I've said before, Lost Box never feels like it's out. You know, it's always there. You know, and everyone thought Kyogre was out, and then it wins Pittsburgh, you know, and it's always there. It's always hanging around. It always finds a way to get into that top 8. So you never know. I could try it out and see how it feels in lots of matches. And if it does really consistently well, then maybe you'll see me on it again.
All right, and then final question. Tell me about your favorite part of the Pittsburgh Regional.
I think it was really nice meeting all the new people. I even met people on the way back home in the airport, a lot of OG players, talking with them, learn about some of the old formats, and just meeting new people is probably my favorite part. And honestly, all my opponents, no problems. It was a good time. I was bantering with almost all of them while we're playing. We're all like praying that maybe they'll hit the thing they need, like 2 off generator, because I played like 6 Miraidon, you know. I'm always like, no, don't hit the generator, or like maybe I'll give you a chance, you know, I'm already ahead or something. But it was always a good time. Had fun in every match I played. There were some close ones that really were a grind fest, but overall it was a good time in Pittsburgh with the people there.
All right, thanks again, Peyton, and congrats on your day 2 finish one more time, and good luck in the rest of the round today, last round.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to League Night here at the Forge. Going into our third and final round, we have Oscar on the right playing Miraidon and Sam on the left playing Charizard EX. It's going to be a pretty cool match to watch. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Oscar is playing the Path Miraidon deck, which could disrupt some of the stuff that this Charizard wants to do, and Sam is playing the Charizard deck with Pidgeot, so Path is tough, Pidgeot weak to Lightning, but we'll see how things can go. As soon as Oscar takes a knockout, that Charizard is going to be able to start taking one-shots on those Raikus, and the second Oscar takes 2 prizes, that Charizard is going to be able to one-shot anything in Oscar's deck. So I think this is going to be a pretty even matchup as long as both of these players draw equally well.
Yeah, and yeah, as long as the Charizard side doesn't get pathed out of this one, yeah, it should be kind of interesting. I think the biggest issue with Zard here is that your first attack isn't going to be doing too much. You're not going to be taking a knockout, but you also won't be getting return KO.
Yeah.
So.
The thing is, too, it's likely that Oscar will take that first KO, and I saw that Sam plays that Vitality Band, and that's going to put that Charizard up to doing 220, so it can knock out the Miraidons and the Raikus as soon as Oscar takes one knockout. And it is usually the case that Miraidon's going to take the first knockout. It's a pretty fast deck. Just seeing Oscar's prize cards there. Nothing too impactful in there. 1 Path, 1 Electric Generator. But Oscar already off to a pretty good start. And one of the things I think that will be in Miraidon's favor is it's going to take the first knockouts, and that Raichu can get up to doing 360 damage to one-shot those Charizard EXs when they come into play.
Oscar has the Squawkabilly in hand, maybe considering on whether he wants to play it or not. Going to have to lose a couple supporters if he does, but I think there's no reason not to. Discard that Boss's Orders in Iono. See 6 new cards.
Can already collapse away that Squawkabilly here as well, just right at the start of the game, and limit the number of Pokemon that Sam can get into play, which could be pretty annoying because she wants to have multiple Charmanders, multiple Pidgeys, and Arceus.
Definitely.
And that collapse is going to make it a little bit tougher, and she also knows that whatever her active Pokemon is probably going to get knocked out at the start of Oscar's next turn. But we see this tandem unit coming down from Miraidon. Oscar choosing not to grab anything. I think he had a Mareep in hand, and I think he's probably going to choose to bench that Mareep.
Maybe he was looking for that other Raikou, but it is in the prizes. But double Dynamotor in this matchup is pretty strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it much easier to attack with that, with the Raichu.
Yeah, absolutely. We see the energy come down, and I believe that's an Arven in hand. Oscar also has the Forest Seal Stone ready to go on that Raichu. So he's going to have a lot of options next turn. Arven could find him an Electric Generator and another tool, and then that Forest Seal Stone could find another Electric Generator if he needs it, or a Flaffy, something like that. So a lot of options for Oscar on his next turn. But Sam looks like she's got a pretty good start here too. Got a Colress's Experiment and a Charmander already down on the board, and this Colress finds her that Arceus V and a rare candy, and
Yeah, can't ask for much more than that.
and she's already got the V-Star in hand, so a lot of good things here for Sam. I imagine we'll see that Mew go to the Lost Zone, unless she wants to retreat into it to find a Battle VIP pass, which I think is probably
Does
a
have
good
energy in
option as
hand,
well.
could choose to do that.
Yeah. But it looks like maybe she's eyeing up that Mew and the energy to go to the Lost Zone, potentially.
I think you definitely have to keep the Arceus candy. Gonna get rid of the Pidgey. Makes sense. Makes sense to go into the Mew here.
Absolutely. And Pidgeot is kind of a big liability in this matchup, so Sam thinking probably not going to get multiple of those in play. So just one Pidgey is fine, and retreat into that Mew can find Battle VIP Pass, Ultra Ball, whatever she needs for next turn. And it looks like there's a VIP Pass, a rare candy in there, and probably going to see that Battle VIP Pass come down, given that she's already got candy in hand off that Colress.
Yeah, only gonna be able to grab one off of this VIP pass because of the Collapse Stadium,
Yeah.
but
Gets that second Charmander into play.
very important. Makes
Yeah.
it so Oscar just can't go boss Charmander.
See that VIP pass come down, and just looking through, checking some of those prize cards, making sure she's got everything she needs in the deck, and really nothing too impactful in those prize cards. Just one Charizard EX, plenty more in the deck.
Does have one of the Path to the Peak bumps prize, but this deck plays several, so shouldn't be a huge problem. Oscar also prizing one Path to the Peak. Considering the Squawk ability, however, she chooses to go that route. Does have the candy in hand already, so it seems like maybe wouldn't want to do that.
And the V-Star. So she's probably going to go for that Charmander, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Two Charmanders, Pidgey, Arceus. Not a whole lot else you need to see. And nothing else you can do, given that that Collapse Stadium is in play.
I think, maybe one downside of the collapsed tier is you can't one shot the Arceus with the Raikou.
Yes.
The Raikou. I guess you could still
you can
with
the Miraidon. Yeah, but the Raikou definitely interesting. That Collapse is the stadium of choice for Miraidon, given that you generally want to have those benches full for the Raikou, but you can still hit that 220 with the Miraidon, so it's not too bad. And it's nice to get that Squawk ability off the field.
Definitely.
So we see this Arven come down, probably going to find that Bravery Charm and Electric Generator. Arven allowing you to search your deck for an item card and a tool card. I'm not seeing... he's only got one Electric Generator prize, but as he was going through that deck, I wasn't seeing any of them.
I think I saw one.
There it is. Okay. So this Electric Generator going to be able to look at the top 5 cards of his deck and choose up to 2 Lightning Energy and attach them to his Bench Lightning Pokemon in any way he likes, and using that Forest Seal Stone to go find that Path to the Peak. And it seems very good against this Charizard deck if Sam doesn't have a path out in that hand. That V-Star is not going to be able to be used to go find the rare candies, Pidgeots, that sort of thing. And that Charizard EX, even if she's able to find one, isn't going to be able to use its ability to accelerate that energy into play.
We'll see the Bravery Charm going on to the Raikou, putting it at 250, which is a good threshold to be at, as the Zard can comfortably get to 240 on this next turn with the Choice Belt.
And already seeing this Raichu starting to get powered up by these Electric Generators. So Oscar developing a very strong board here, and I'm seeing in Sam's hand just a boss's orders for her supporter. So she's going to have to top deck something good to get out of this Path to the Peak that Oscar is going to be playing at the end of this turn. He remembers to play it. The scary thing sometimes is if you don't slam it down right away when you take it out of the deck, do you forget to play it from hand before you just attack with this Raikou?
Definitely been there before. It feels pretty bad. All right, so we'll see. We've seen 2 generators come down this turn. Already seen the attached return. Path to the Peak coming down. And so I think we'll just see the Lightning Rondo coming in to take the KO on Sam's Mew.
Oscar taking an Ultra Ball off those prize cards, which is going to be very good on the next turn. Discard those energy out of his hand, find Flaffy, and Dynamotor them back onto one of your bench Pokemon. Sam forced to put this Pidgey into the active spot. Obviously, if you can find that Pidgeot, it does have free retreat. So the obvious choice is to go into that Pidgey and top deck the Chorus's Experiment. So a little bit of life into Sam's unfortunate no path out hand there, but no path outs in those top 5 cards off that Chorus. But does have an Iono, has the Charizard, has Rare Candy, and she has an energy in hand, so she could choose to evolve into that Charizard without utilizing its ability. She has an attachment for turn. She can evolve that Arceus V, so it's out of range of like that Miraidon and Raikou if the benches are full. So she might have to sacrifice this Pidgey here, but she is actually going to have a pretty strong board at the end of this turn, plus an Iono in hand.
Yeah, not too bad. Maybe just going to have to play the long game. And Charizard is a deck that, doesn't hate going behind on prizes. It's able to hit big numbers later on to take some KOs.
Yeah.
And, going down 2 prizes with that Vitality Band, we'll be able to hit 250 next turn after this Pidgey goes down. Mm-hmm. And we'll choose to evolve the Charizard like you were saying. I think that makes a lot of sense. getting energy attachment for turn in an attempt to attack just from manual power-ups next turn.
Yeah, I'd love to see that Vitality Band come down on this turn as well to that Charizard, only because we know that this Miraidon Path deck loves to play Disruption, so you can't be guaranteed that it's going to be in your hand on the next turn, and if Oscar doesn't have the boss's orders and is forced to KO this Pidgey with that Raikou on the next turn, you're going to need that Vitality Band to have the response on the Raikou, and Sam does put that down onto that Charizard, meaning it'll do 250 on her next turn if Oscar takes a one prize knockout. And no boss's orders in hand for Oscar, so he is probably just going to be forced to hit into this Pidgey, unless he can find an escape rope or something like that off of this research.
Yeah, and has a couple energies in hand, has the Ultra Ball. I'm sure we'll be seeing the Flaffy come out this turn. Just continuing to power up his bench Pokemon.
Looking at discarding that Zero Aura potentially, but I don't hate just benching that Zero Aura here. It's a nice free retreater. It doesn't actually have that bad of an attack either. If you set up some damage on like Charizard or Arceus, it can finish it off by doing 60 damage for 1 energy to an evolved Pokemon.
We'll see the attachment for turn come down on the Miraidon, and it looks like he will decide to get rid of that Zero Aura.
That makes sense too. You probably want another Miraidon or maybe a second Raichu down to start powering up. So saving that bench space and having 2 Flaffies, like you said earlier, is going to be very strong in this matchup.
All right, we'll be seeing the Professor's Research coming down. 7 new cards. Does find the escape rope, so could choose to play it this turn, and the second Flaffy, which is very strong. So we'll be seeing
2 Dynamortars come down here.
Just got the 1 energy.
Does he have no Ultra Ball or anything in hand, but another Electric Generator to start attaching more energy? I kind of would like to see maybe the rope first, because if Sam doesn't choose to promote that Charmander, you could then surprise with like an Electric Generator, get more energy on board, Raichu, KO the Charizard if you chose to send it up, something like that.
Yeah, currently enough energy on board to KO that Charizard.
But just going after this Pidgey here isn't a terrible idea either. Has another Miraidon in hand that he could bench. Has that escape rope and can Dynamotor to fully power up this Miraidon. So he could rope and hit into something, or could just, and I would bet that Sam probably doesn't send up, I don't know what you would even send up there. You probably have to send up the Charmander off of the rope.
Yeah, I think so.
I
think he's considering, is he going to play that rope?
I think it's probably a pretty good call to rope here. If Sam is forced to throw up that Charmander, it means you're not going to see 2 Charizards in play, and Charizard is definitely the hardest thing for you to KO. You don't mind seeing a Pidgeot come down. Really, that's something easy for you to KO, but ultimately decides to just Lightning Rondo that Pidgey with that Raikou and take 1 prize card, and I believe he took a research off the prizes. And Sam promoting that Charizard. We'll see what she was able to top deck for her and has that path to peek out.
Starbirth. Now, I think if I'm Sam, I might be looking to boss that Raichu, as that's the biggest threat on the board right now.
And she has the boss orders in hand, so she can Starbirth to evolve that Charmander on the bench, utilize that Infernal Rain ability, get all the energy in play she needs for basically the rest of the game, and bosses orders that Raichu. And if she's able to pull that off, she's going to be in a very strong position here, because there's nothing that Oscar can do against 2 330 HP Charizards that are one-shotting everything on his board for the rest of the game.
That's a hard ask for Miraidon here. Although, funny enough, even if Sam does take the KO on this Raichu this turn, if Oscar's able to find another one next turn, would be able to get enough energy in play again to take the KO.
Yeah, so it can just power it up with those Dynamotors. But we know right now Oscar doesn't have that in hand. He does have a good amount of energy, the escape rope, the Miraidon, and those researches. And the researches can dig as deep as he wants. Plus, that Miraidon's ability can just go find Raichu at any time, and there's no path to the peak in play now.
Oh, we see the Iono coming out.
So not a bad play either. Gets 2 energies off the board, but they're going to be able to be Dynamotored right back on when she knocks out this Raikou. So I think Sam kind of accepting the fact that Raichu is going to be able to take a one-hit KO on the following turn, but hoping to get more of this energy out of play and disrupt Oscar enough that he has less plays that he can make on the following turn.
Yeah, and does have Ultra Ball in hand. Rare Candy could evolve that other Charmander. Likely won't really, if she Starbursts this turn, won't really need to bump Path anymore.
See the double turbo energy in hand as well. Can attach that to the Arceus just so that it can pivot out of the active spot if Oscar ever did boss it up. I'm seeing the Starbirth. Probably gonna go find. Did you say she already had Ultra Ball Rare Candy?
She did have Ultra Ball Rare Candy, but I think maybe just
Not wanting
deciding
to
not
use the
to
Ultra Ball.
use the Ultra Ball.
Yeah. Probably wants a boss here.
Yeah, have the boss for next turn makes sense.
I mean, the second that Raichu attacks, it does discard all of its energy, and then you can start to target down something else if you want to. Like one of those Flaffies. You probably don't want to. You probably just want to take a 2/2 prize trade here.
But Oscar down a lot of generators. Might be hard to start powering up attackers if you do choose to go after those
Absolutely.
Flaffies.
I think he's down 3 right now, and that 4th one is the last prize card he's going to take. Or second to last, maybe, prize card that I'll take. But no way to know that if you're Sam.
It looks like she's made her choice off of the Starbirth. I believe one of the cards was the Charizard EX. I'm not quite sure what the other card was.
But regardless, Sam is going to be able to take this knockout on the Raikou because of that Vitality Band. So that's just a great play on that last turn to play that Vitality Band down and to have it in the deck in general. I think that's just such a strong card. There's so many spots where Charizard is just 10 damage short of a knockout.
Yeah, and Vitality Band, a card that's been in format since Sword and Shield base set and hasn't really seen much play at all.
Yeah. It saw, I think, like a brief amount of play when it first released in Sword and Shield base set. I think for some like ADP decks, stuff like that, but really not a lot of play. But that 10 damage can be so relevant. I think the reason Vitality Band probably didn't see a lot of play in Sword and Shield was you have the Zigzagoon to get that extra 10 damage. And Scoop Up Net could let you do it over and over again.
Yeah.
So taking this knockout on the Raikou is going to take 2 prizes here. Oscar draws for turn. He has that attachment for turn and the Dynamotors to make sure that this Raichu has enough energy to one-shot this Charizard. That Dynamotor going to go get that other Raichu. Sorry, the what is it? Not Dynamotor.
Tandem unit.
Tandem unit.
Yeah.
Goes and finds the Raichu and the other Miraidon, and then these Flaffies are going to be able to bring 2 energy back from that discard pile. Probably going to power up that second Raichu, and he has attachment for turn, so just a lot of energy going to be flooded into play on this turn.
See them just both going on to the Raichu makes a lot of sense. Getting it powered up for next turn.
So at the end of this turn, Oscar is going to have 8 energies in play, but he's going to have to discard 6 of those to take this one-hit KO on the Charizard. And that means that if Sam does choose to boss one of those Flaffies, it could prevent an attack on the next turn, depending on where Oscar decides to discard those energies.
Yeah, I think they probably definitely, the 3 come off the Miraidon. I think you take the 4th off of the Flaffy, and then the question is, do you take him off the active Raichu or the bench Raichu? So
Yeah.
has access to Iono, considering playing it.
The interesting thing here, too, is if he uses the boss's orders to KO the Arceus, he only needs to discard 5 energy, so he would be able to save a little bit of the energy in play in that scenario, and maybe that would have been a good call, because you know that Sam has to attack with the EX most likely on the next turn. Although she does play that Radiant Charizard, which could skew this price trade a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. That is a card that some Charizard lists have chosen to forego in to go another route. Some other like Radiant Pokemon or not even playing a Radiant Pokemon at all, but
Yeah.
still a very powerful attacker.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and we will see the Dynamic Spark coming out.
All the energies coming off that Miraidon, just leaving the 2 energies on the bench Raichu. And honestly, that could be kind of dangerous if Sam did get a boss's orders
I
off
believe
of
she
that Iono.
did get the boss off the Iono.
Yeah. So she's able to boss up that benched Raichu. There's no way Oscar can take a one-hit KO on anything on Sam's board except the Charmander, which doesn't do him any good. So we'll see what Sam is able to do. That last electric generator still in the prizes for Oscar. So the only way to power up attackers right now is with those Flaffies.
I thought she grabbed the boss off the Iono, but maybe I miss saw that.
I mean, even if she didn't, because the electric generators are prized, there's no way for Oscar to get to 6 energies. But the question is, does he have boss in hand? His 5 energies, attachment for turn, 2 Dynamotors, does get him enough to KO that Arceus.
Well, I guess the awkward thing is with discarding the energies off the active Raichu, you don't have any way to get 2 energies attached to it. So
Yeah.
you would need to also retreat it or find a switching card.
Yeah, that's true.
Sam gonna grab that Radiant Charizard off of an Ultra Ball.
Definitely a great card in this matchup. And if she's able to get that, the third Charizard EX is in the prize cards, unfortunately. So
I think that other card is Boss's Orders. I'm pretty
there
sure.
it is. The boss order is coming down on the Raichu. And that means that Oscar has no way of taking a 2 prize knockout on his next turn.
Yeah, so that puts Oscar in kind of a tricky spot.
He almost has to, it's too bad he discarded the Zero Aura earlier, because this is a really good spot to just hit 60 into that Charizard with the Zero Aura while you're powering up that Raichu on the bench.
Yeah, I think really you might have to attack with a Flaffy this turn.
Yeah,
and that
or at
doesn't
least
do that
retreat
much
out of
damage.
this Miraidon into
Yeah.
a Flaffy. He has the Path to Peak, he has Switch Card, Judge, all very good cards for this turn. Iono would be even better, but Judge Path is always a great combination.
Certainly, yeah. Makes that Radiant Charizard pretty useless if you're not able to find a bump.
Attaching for turn to that Raikou, and then has the Switch Cart. It's gonna have to go into one of those Flaffies, but that also means that it's kind of difficult for him to get out of those Flaffies too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like if Sam has a really bad hand off of this Judge and just decides not to take a KO, that Flaffy could be just stuck.
Yeah. Unable to use any switch cards to move it around, and I believe Oscar already played 1 escape rope.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's playing a second one.
He might have discarded one as well at some point. I think he had one in hand when he researched at one point, potentially. So this Judge Path coming down, both players shuffle their hands into their deck and draw 4. And we'll see what each player is able to get off this. Sam has the Lost Vacuum for the Stadium Bump, another Stadium Bump, an energy for that Charizard, that Radiant Charizard, which is going to put it in a lot of work in this matchup potentially. And Oscar has that rope in hand, so that Flaffy isn't going to be stuck in the active spot. And we're probably just going to see a pass over to Sam here. But Sam has some options. She can retreat out of this Charizard EX, has the energy in hand to take a KO with this Radiant Charizard. And an Ultra Ball to find the Charizard EX that she took off the prizes earlier. So if she's able to get into a rare candy at some point, she has a lot of options available to her. And we'll see what this top deck is. Couldn't quite see it. Let's see. Trying to decide.
And if she's forced this turn to take the KO on the Flaffy, you have access as Oscar to, I think he had an energy off of it for attachment for turn. He has access to a Dynamotor.
He can't. He would have to boss KO the Arceus because he can only get to 5 next turn if Sam KOs this Flaffy. And it looks like no boss in
See
hand.
the boss in hand.
Path is in place, so he's not going to be able to draw with that Raikou to get there. And as long as Sam has that Charmander on bench, she has something that's only worth one prize that Oscar would have to rope into. So I
just
think
gonna see
we're
the
seeing the
KO.
KO on this Flaffy. And I think that's a really good move by Sam here. Leaves that path in play. So this Raikou has no abilities. No way for Oscar to get to 6 energy in play this turn because of that prize electric generator. And I think we're just going to ultimately see potentially like a rope here from Oscar. With that path in play, if Sam decides to send up the Radiant Zard, it wouldn't be able to attack on her next turn, although we do know that she has the path bumps in hand. But he has to two-shot one of these 2 prizers.
Yeah.
And that's just not good because the Arceus can retreat out back into the Charizard. The Charmander, KOing the Charmander or the Radiant Charizard doesn't do anything for Oscar. So just tough decisions here. And Sam only has 1 prize left, so he can't just stall with a Flaffy again.
Yeah, and does Sam have the energy in hand?
I don't think she does because I think she top decked it for turn and attached it to the Radiant Zard.
So this Charmander could have possibly gotten stuck. I think she needed to promote the Radiant Charizard that turn. But I guess
We'll see what else she has in hand. She has, Oscar can't take this KO. He can't use.
he fast charged.
Okay. That
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. So she has Rare Candy, Ultra Ball in hand. She has Rare Candy, Ultra Ball in hand, and she has the Path Bump.
Oh yeah, and the other Charizard is in deck and she
the
took out
deck,
the prizes,
yeah.
so it should have it. Just needs to bump path. Yep.
Is the energy in deck though? She
That
has
is a
that
good
Super Rod in the
question.
prizes. So does she have enough energy in deck? Find out soon enough. Ultra Ball. No energy in deck. One
Oh,
energy
she's
in
got
deck?
the 1 energy, and that's all she'll need.
No, because she can't retreat.
The Charmander has a 2 retreat cost?
No, she has to evolve the Charmander to use the ability.
Oh no!
The thing is, though, Oscar still doesn't have boss. So she can just choose to stall here. She can Ultra Ball, take the Charizard out of the prizes and not evolve it.
Yeah.
Or not out of the prizes, out of her deck. And just continue to wait. She could Artisan for like another 1 prizer and put it onto her bench. Just thin that deck as much as possible.
Yeah, I think she'll have to do that. Oh no!
Unless she has an energy in hand that we didn't see. But she could have just attached retreated and then. Oh no. Just ultimately coming down to not have enough energy in deck because that Super Rod was prized, was never able to rod it
pretty
back into the
unfortunate.
deck. And Oscar just has the energy in play to take this
Take the KO there. I don't think she had any kind of rope or switching card in hand, so
I don't think so.
yeah,
We'll
pretty
have to see.
unfortunate.
Just another Rare Candy, and gonna have to pass over to Oscar, and he's already got that energy in play on the Raichu to take this final KO. We'll see what he top decks. If it's the boss's orders, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, and it's
It
just
was
an
Ultra
Ultra Ball.
Ball.
But able to just take this final KO, and unfortunate Sam just off of that final judge from Oscar had like a few really good cards, but just not quite what she needed to win that game. But I think you're right. If she had promoted the Radiant Charizard on that turn, Oscar would have either been forced to KO it or hope that she didn't have the path out in hand, and we know that she did. So definitely well played by both players.
Definitely.
Congratulations to Oscar on going 3-0 tonight with Mid-Rhydon. And I don't think anyone can call that deck Mid-Rhydon anymore.
Yeah, I think it's officially graduated.
It gets top 32 at Worlds, gets to the finals in Pittsburgh, 2 in top 8 at Pittsburgh. Makes the graphic at Pittsburgh day 1, 11% of the day 1 meta.
Wins the championship league in Yokohama.
Yeah, and wins the Champion League at the Forge tonight. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of this deck, and I don't know what that means for the format. Do people start finding fighting type Pokemon? One of the things I was thinking about earlier today was Glamora EX is already a cool card, and for 2 energy knocks out anything in the Miraidon deck. So do we see more people playing that card or finding ways to play that card? I wouldn't hate to see that. I mean, Lost Box doesn't love to see Glamora, Guardy doesn't love to see Glamora, Lugia doesn't love to see Glamora, and Miraidon certainly doesn't love to see Glamora. So I wonder if there's some interesting things people can cook up with that card.
Yeah, interesting point. It could be a cool counter, and when one deck starts popping off a lot, that's everyone's going to be looking to find what is the counter that we could play to start beating this deck that's taken up so much of the meta percentage.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be back here shortly with our winners interview with Oscar. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. I'm here with our winner of round 3 and 3 overall, Oscar on Miraidon. Oscar, congrats on the win. Really tight game. What was your strategy going against the Charizard deck, which is a deck I think you're pretty familiar with?
Thank you. Yes, glad to be here. I played Charizard a little bit beforehand, and I kind of just looked at how many energies were being played, and I noticed that 7 of them had been played. And I think at the very end of the turn there, I was just hoping that maybe she would bring up the Charmander so that it would be very hard to find that last energy to retreat. Hoping that maybe she didn't have it in hand at that time. And that was pretty much the only way that maybe I had an out to winning that game.
Yeah, well played for sure. What drew you to play Miraidon this week?
So I switched to a Miraidon because some of the other decks I played, like Charizard and Gardevoir, sometimes you just don't set up and you just start with a bunch of little guys that get knocked out one after the other and you can't find your rare candies, and that felt really bad. So I chose to play Miraidon because usually you just find all the things, all the Pokemon that you need, and as long as you hit your generators, you are off to a good start.
Yeah, awesome. Do you think that you'll continue to play the Miraidon in the 151 format?
I think there is a nice Zapdos that's coming out promo, so I think I'm gonna try Miraidon for a little bit longer and see how it works out, and then at least until the Ancient and Future stuff comes out in the next set after 151.
Yeah, awesome. Oscar, do you plan on being at any regionals anytime soon?
I think the one coming up in Peoria. I think we're planning on going to that one.
Awesome. That's good to hear. You think you'll play Miraidon there?
Oh, I don't know yet. I don't know yet if it's good enough for that format, but it's definitely one of the top ones I'm thinking about.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Congrats on the win. Well played overall, and yeah, thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back. I'm here with Jack, who recently attended the Pittsburgh Regionals. Jack, you want to tell us about what deck you played to the Pittsburgh Regionals and how your experience went there at the tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I played Lost Zone Giratina to the Pittsburgh Regionals. I hit the dojo with Max, my testing partner, for quite some time in the days before Pittsburgh, and we decided that we were ultimately going to play the Lost Zone Giratina deck. Has a pretty solid matchup spread across the board, doesn't have too many auto losses, and we really don't like playing Lugia. So that is how we ended up on Lost Zone Giratina. At the tournament, I ended up making day 2, and...
Your first day too?
Correct, my first day 2, yeah, at the Pittsburgh Regional. I was 6-2-1. I started out 0-2 in day 1, so I made the great climb from the barracks.
Yeah, congratulations. That's pretty tough to come back from that 0-2 record.
It was exciting. It was a miserable day of playing Pokemon cards, just playing 7 straight win and ins. But we got there, and then we don't need to talk about day 2.
Well, do you want to tell us about maybe some of the spicy choices that you played, the tech cards you played in the deck?
Sure. Yeah, we played a little bit of spice. We put the Temple of Sinnoh back in the deck. We decided that we wanted to beat the Lugia deck. Ultimately, you have to start picking what you're going to lose to, so you can play a Spiritomb if you'd want to beat Mew. We decided the Mew matchup was better than the Lugia matchup, and ultimately ended up playing Spiritomb, or, good lord, we were playing Temple of Sinnoh instead of Spiritomb, and then we played a Lost Vacuum in the list. The Lost Vacuum really helps you push over to your key power turns with the Lost Zone mechanic, getting to 7 on turn 2 with Gates, and then getting to 10 on turn 3 to either Sableye, Lost Mine Attack, or to Star Requiem with the Giratina.
Awesome. And then my final question for you is, what was the most hyper exciting game that you played in your tournament run?
It had to be the Win-In. I played against a Rapid Strike box for the Win-In. It's not a very good matchup for Tina, but I drew super well. Ended up flower selecting into Colress on game 2 to secure the win. So it was extremely fun to win the Win-In. Obviously some nerves before that, but we got there.
All right, well, thanks again. Congrats on your success at the Pittsburgh Regional, and hopefully you continue on in the next couple ones that you go to.
Absolutely. We're looking for Peoria next.
All right. And thank you so much for joining us tonight here at the Forge League Night. Thanks for tuning in and seeing all the decks that everyone brought here, and grateful that everyone tuned in to watch.